Welcome into the lounge presented by DraftKings. We have the pleasure of being joined by Tyler Linderbaum today. And I'll start here, Tyler. All right, so bullying is a serious issue, right? But you bullied Devin White the other day down in Tampa all game long. Do you have any apologies that you want to issue? I mean, Tyler, that man, you pushed that man 20 yards down the field. What do you have to say for yourself?
Just playing hard, I guess. No apologies, no. I just, that's how the game's supposed to be played. Obviously they got me a few times, but that's a game of football. It's an imperfect game, so it was fun to kind of get that moment. So need more of it.
How many times have you seen that clip, the one that you ran him 15 yards and then dumped him on his back?
I've seen it a few times, but I don't know. I'm not one of those guys that just sits there and watches, because I'm more of, I gave up a sack that game, so I'm more watching that clip of Vita Vea against me. So, but it was fun and we came out with the win. So,
well, what is a game like that? You get into the locker room. It's a primetime game. You're getting love from the Thursday Night Football broadcast. Like, is your phone blowing up? And you have this clip that, kind of, semi-viral. I'll call it semi-viral, where you're pushing one of the best linebackers in the league 20 yards down the field. What is your phone like when you get in the locker room after a game like that?
I don't know. I just had my buddies text me, like, good game. Really, I don't think anyone sent me anything about the clip. But then eventually I saw more of it and more of it. I don't know. Yeah, just friends probably hit me up later on, like, nice play, but that's about it.
I mean, that has to be an offensive lineman's, dream second half. You all rushed for over 200 yards in the second half. I mean, is that just kind of, how did you feel in that mode? Is that kind of exactly the way you want to play football?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime we can, come out there and perform like that in the second half, that's awesome. But obviously it took some time to get there, but definitely credit to the running backs and the O-line blocking their butts off.
What's it like for you? You've been so good at getting to the second level. That was a lot of your game in college, and now we're seeing that in the NFL. What's the look on linebackers' faces when they see you coming downhill and just getting the hooks in on them in the second level?
I don't know. I'm not really looking them in the eyes, but I feel like that's some part of my game that I excel at. But just being more consistent about it, and when I do get to the second level, being able to do that, it's something that is important to me. Just being more consistent at it. But anytime I can climb up to the second level, try to make things happen, and that's where big plays happen.
Right. Do you ever feel like the linebacker or whoever it is that you climb up to, once you get on him, that this is kind of what I saw from Devin White, is he wasn't really pushing you back, it seemed. You were just he was along for the ride. That once you get him, they're like, oh, I'm done. Right. You know what I mean? Do you ever get that feeling kind of?
No, yes and no. I think that's the thing about, when you climb up on linebackers, it's obviously we have more size than them, but also they're quicker and more agile than us. Right. So for them, if they're they want us to miss them, but if we get a hold of them, then, that's where they have more trouble. So The more that we can grab onto them and push them back, the better it is for the offense.
Right. So Tyler, what's been the biggest surprise about life in the NFL so far?
Biggest surprise? I just think, being in the NFL, you're going against the best guys in the world every single game, every single snap. Obviously there's some games in college where the guys aren't as good, and that. But now in the NFL, every single snap you got to bring it, and if you don't, you're going to get exposed. So that's where consistency in your game is important, and it's something that, especially as a young player, that I realize that you need to be more consistent each and every play to be successful in this league.
At what point, I don't know if it's training camp, if it's in an actual game, at what point did you feel all right, I can play in this league?
Whew. I don't know, probably once I got to kind of my first couple games, because I dealt with some stuff in fall camp, injury-wise. I really didn't get the opportunity to face our defense that much. I played only 8 snaps in the preseason, so really I didn't know what to expect, once those bullets started flying that first game. But, once that first game, we started that first game, football's football. Obviously the guys are much better, but, I'm here for a reason. and just, play my style of football.
It seems like we were talking about this the other day, that it seems like your confidence has really built a lot, because it's hard for a rookie to go down with an injury and miss that much time, especially when the expectation is, hey, you're going to be the week 1 starter immediately. Like, that's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, right? And it seemed like now that you're getting some game reps that you just feel like you got a little swagger to you. Like, do you feel a lot different than you did, and how hard was that to deal with as a rookie getting an injury in camp?
Well, first, I don't think I have any swag to my game whatsoever. Let's start with that. I think that's a part of this game. Like, if you're playing with confidence, I think you can play at a really high level. As soon as you start doubting yourself, then that's where things start to go bad. So just, that's why I have really great teammates around me, supporting me. There's not one guy that I don't trust on the team, on the O-line, quarterback, running backs, receivers. And, when you have that kind of trust in one another, like, a lot of good things can happen. And that's where you really start believing in yourself.
Right. You talked about the Vita Vea sack, and, there was a ton of pre-draft talk about your size and where you're going to be able to match up with these massive defensive tackles and nose tackles and stuff. And it really doesn't get any more massive than Vita Vea. I mean, was that the toughest challenge for you? And what is your outlook now that you've had a few games under your belt of how can I match up against these monsters on the D-line?
Yeah, I think I've had a few games this year where, there's been nose tackles that are much bigger than me. That's where, if you look around the league, there's a lot of centers that are like undersized. So, and they get the job done, just as good as other bigger centers.
Right.
So just using your talents, using your leverage, I think is the biggest thing, and just like technique, because at the end of the day, it's all about like who wants it more. It might not be pretty, but if you get the job done, if you block your guy, and that's where like big plays happen.
I'm curious, like, what is it like when you go through this draft process and you hear like so much of the conversation, size. Like, you go from Iowa, where you're like the best player on the team, and like you're a leader of the team, and it's like everyone's kind of probably patting you on the back when you're at Iowa. Man, you're great, you're a stud, you're the leader, like you're the guy. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm going to go to the draft, and then it's like, it's too small. You're like, wait, what the heck? I thought I was a good player. Like, what is that like for you, and how did you handle that?
So when I was like trying to decide if I wanted to come out or not, one of my coaches, like, because I finally told him, I'm like, I think I'm going to enter draft. He's like, or when I was in the process of making decisions, he's like, this is like, you go from being told you're the greatest in college, everything you're good at, to now during the draft process, you're going to hear everything that you're bad at. So just, I knew right when he told me that, I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to be like that. That's just how it is. Everyone, they're dissecting you, trying to find, things that you're not good at. And, especially during that draft process, they want to find every little thing. But, just like we talked about, like having that confidence in yourself and believing in yourself and the things that you can do is something that, I think that I try to do. So just keeping that in the back of my mind.
Do you have to keep yourself from getting frustrated? Like, I remember, like, I always think about this with guys. And like at Combine, I remember you talking with reporters, and there's a whole bunch of reporters, and you're getting all these questions about, what scheme you'll fit in, and probably like every other question was size, and it's like, do you have to keep yourself from being like, dude, just put on the tape. Like, did you watch me at Iowa the last few years? Like, I'm a stud. Like, I don't want to hear about it.
No, like, they're valid questions. There's times where I do get overpowered, but like I said, that's going into consistency with your technique and everything and how you play the game. So, it's a question that should be answered, but at the end of the day, yeah, like, put on the tape. I need to show that I can, perform with these big nose guards up front. I don't even think I'm close to scratching the surface on my potential, but that just comes with, continuing to work hard and continue to believe in myself and trusting my teammates around me.
Like we talked about before, the expectation when you were drafted is this guy's going to be an immediate starter. How much pressure did that put on your shoulders, especially, when you step into an offensive line, a lot of that is you have other veterans on the line, and you as the center have to kind of be the leader in there. How tough was that to kind of handle?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know if I was going to be starting. I just came in, put my head down and tried to work, trying to learn the offense. Because when I first got here, I was like, there's no way I can start right now. I'm just learning the offense. So I just think, but that's like, I have great great teammates in that O-line room that, have always helped me. Any questions I have, they're there to answer it. And I think they have been a big impact on me and my development so far as a rookie.
Right. How do you take more and more leadership on that line? And do you feel yourself kind of being that commander a little bit more now?
Yeah, just with how the center position works, I think, you got to have guys trust you and, with the calls you're making. I think, naturally, since I've only played center in my career, I just feel like, naturally I have some of those qualities. So just continue to earn those trust from those teammates to believe in me and the calls that I'm making.
Did you guys run much shotgun at Iowa?
Yes and no. I mean, we're definitely mostly we're more under center than what we are here now. So stuff like that is stuff I need to continue to improve on. Just getting more and more comfortable with the shotgun snapping. But that just comes with repetition.
Like, is that something that when you get here you feel like, all right, I gotta really work on like the techniques of that? I think probably fans look at that like, it's a snap. I can do a snap. It's easy, right? It's like, but is that something that like you have to kind of, if you hadn't done a ton of it, that you have to like kind of work on the mechanics of that a lot?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's always stuff that you can tweak, but also like during the season, stuff like that, you don't want to tweak too much because a lot of bad things can happen from there. But it's just like with anything, there's always stuff that you can, focus on, and you can't just completely forget about snapping the ball because at the end of the day, it has to get back to the quarterback. So it makes things easier on him with reads and stuff like that.
Is Lamar Jackson very particular about his snaps? And what is it, Tom Brady, right? Doesn't Ryan Jensen basically have to wear a diaper, right? Because he can't have a sweaty butt, right? Is Lamar like particular in any way about his snaps or anything like that?
I don't wear a diaper, so I don't think he's too concerned about that. That's one of the things, like going in the gun, you really don't have to worry about, putting that towel in the back.
Right.
Just because he's not under center that much. So, but no, I mean, Lamar doesn't have a preference, I think, where the ball's at. I think as long as it's somewhat in this area, that's really all that matters.
Right. And you're wrestling.
That's the breaking news. That's the biggest update from this podcast. Tyler does not wear a diaper. Anyways. Thank you for that.
A lot has been said about your wrestling background. Obviously, that was really a big thing of yours in Iowa, and you were a state champion?
No, sadly. No, I wasn't.
Come on.
But like, how much do you feel that has really helped you in your football career? And does it ever feel like it's kind of just a wrestling match out there?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of things that wrestling helps with football. Just body positions that you're in sometimes. You're familiar with that just from wrestling, but also like a mindset aspect. When you go on that wrestling mat, it's you versus the other guy. There's no one else that can help you. It's one-on-one. And if you get your butt whooped, everyone knows that you got your butt whooped. So that's the thing that I really enjoy about wrestling. And, I try to carry over that kind of mindset of, just doing your job, win the one-on-ones, and things will take care of themselves.
Did you always know, even though you're wrestling, that football was going to be your career? Because, wrestling in Iowa, that is like right up there. Right. That's a big sport in Iowa. You didn't get the cauliflower ear.
No, I don't have it.
Yeah, you avoided that. So, did you think that ever, like, maybe I'll wrestle in college, or do you always knew it was football?
So I started wrestling my sophomore year of high school. So the reason why I went out was for football. So
Gotcha.
I really never thought about wrestling in college. My brother wrestled in college. He went to Minnesota State Mankato. So I guess it's a little bit in my blood, but it's not something that I wanted to do at the next level.
Gotcha. And the big clip is when you beat Tristan Wirfs, your nemesis, and you took him down in a big match, your final match against him. And, you're not like you said, you're not like a swaggy guy necessarily, but you had some emotion when you got that one. Take us through that one.
Yeah, that was it was a big match. Our schools, we're only about 10 minutes away, and it's one of our, big rivals. So
yeah.
I think the duel that we were in with them was to go to state for like the team duels. So it was kind of a big match, and especially, being Tristan. Obviously, Tristan's a great athlete and, very successful. He actually ended up winning state that year. So just to be able to beat someone like him, it felt pretty good.
Right.
And then Tristan goes to Iowa, and you guys are teammates. did you ever bring up that match or not? Like, did you ever talk about that?
No, I've never really brought it up to him.
He probably gets tired of reporters.
Twitter brings it up.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've texted him like, dude, if I see this video like one more time, like I'm gonna lose it. Like I can only imagine what you feel like. But it's funny. I mean, I sometimes see like his wrestling coach like chirping like, what about the 6 matches before that? Like, so, like joking around. So stuff like that's fun. But that's just 2 competitors going at it, and you're gonna have that. So yeah, I mean, maybe looking back, especially the career Tristan's gonna have in the football on the gridiron, it's gonna be pretty special looking back at that.
So in totality, he had you like what was your record against each other?
It was probably like 1-7.
But you have the clip. No one needs to know about that. You have the clip that went viral of you going crazy after beating him.
Yeah, so we faced each other my sophomore and junior year, and we've probably faced each other 7 or 8 times. But yeah, the clip, that's probably the only video that's out there of us wrestling. So
see, I had no idea that he had like your number. I just kind of assumed like, well, that was the one match.
I don't think a lot of people know. So
we'll keep that. We'll edit this part out of the podcast.
Nice.
And you saw him down in Tampa. Like, how cool was it to see him down there?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, especially like seeing all the any of these teams that have like former teammates on it. It's so cool. Just knowing where we started and now like we're living our dreams in the NFL. It's really cool. Just to experience that, just chatting up, it was awesome. Just, being able to experience that with him, before the game, we were talking for like 20, 30 minutes. So it was fun.
Now, what's it like playing with Lamar? And one moment that I feel like you really made a good impression on him was during training camp, and Lamar threw an interception, and you go hawking. You almost hawked. I don't remember who it was that caught it. Maybe it was Tony Jefferson. And you took off down the field and almost caught Tony from behind. And Lamar was like, dang, we pulled up the tape. My center was running. Yeah. Your athleticism is pretty incredible. And how do you feel like that kind of, helps you in your game in totality and secondarily, like just playing with Lamar, another fast guy.
Right.
Not a different level of fast.
Yeah, way different. You can't put us in the same spectrum. But yeah, I think my athleticism definitely helps, but I don't know. I think he threw the interception. Like my first instinct is just going to try to get the ball out. I don't know. I wasn't thinking about how fast I was running. I just tried to go hit the ball out, and I guess he ended up liking that. So,
they test your speeds at practice, right? You wear those like spark things. They put that on the centers too.
Yeah, we do wear them.
Okay. What'd you get up to?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know. You're gonna have to ask Sam about that.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to figure that one out.
See if it was a top 10 speed of training camp.
It was probably like 23 or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. It wasn't.
Step aside, Devin Duvernay. Linderbaum's got first place.
Yeah. Definitely probably the fastest on the team so far this season. So,
well, last one for me, Tyler, is just, you're off to a hot start in your rookie career. Just kind of what are your goals for the rest of this season and for this offense?
Yeah, really just keep excelling as an offensive unit, and just continue to win games. We talk about stacking games, stacking wins. And I think, that's our focus is if the O-line is doing their part, I think a lot of people gel around that. If we're blocking people and moving people up front, I think our offense will be rolling. But, it certainly isn't easy. It's something that, it takes, 5 equals 1, and we're going to have to continue to do our job. But as long as we're stacking wins, that's all I really care about.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, man, this has been great. Enjoy it. Keep putting people on their back 20 yards down the field.
Keep bullying people. We sign off on your version of bullying.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, great stuff from Tyler Linderbaum. Found out he doesn't wear a diaper. That was important.
I know you wanted to get to the bottom of that.
Oh, I had a few follow-ups on the diaper stuff. But I restrained myself, kept it in. Well, Jensen, he has this stuff 5 towels.
The backstory here is that basically when Ryan Jensen...
Backstory.
Yes, yeah, well done. When Ryan Jensen got to Tampa, he shared a photo basically saying that once he had his first practice with Brady was very particular about making sure everything was nice and dry.
Right,
so
he doesn't like a wet ball.
Yeah, so he wants to basically stick a towel on his backside. So that
multiple towels.
Everything's nice and dry. So that's the backstory. if you weren't familiar with that.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, really good stuff from Tyler. I mean, I think he's just, I like the kid. You know, he's a good player, good head on his shoulders. Like, I think that's going to be a very, very good first round pick for the Ravens.
Yeah, before we give you our thoughts on this upcoming game against the Saints, we also want our listeners to know the sports landscape's always changing. This week is no different. DraftKings is the leader in daily fantasy sports, and it still has daily fantasy contests for those who are looking to have skin in the game. It's simple. Every player has a salary associated with drafting them. You assemble a lineup of players, you try to stay under the salary cap, and then you sit back and you watch your points pile up. So now you know how to play. Download the DraftKings app today. Sign up using the code FLOCK. New users get a free entry with their first deposit. Again, the code is FLOCK at DraftKings.
Well, I think this is going to be another important game for the offensive line because you look at the Saints defense and they got some players on that other side. I mean, Cameron Jordan on one side, Marcus Davenport on the other. You know, it's not Vita Vea in the middle necessarily for Tyler, but they have some players. You know, there's edge rushers can get after it and really disrupt running games. They got Tyrann Mathieu on the back end. You know, they've got the big, who's the corner? Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, so it's going to be a challenge. And anytime you go down there to New Orleans, that place can get rocking. Those fans are passionate. And on Monday Night Football, like, not an easy challenge. The Saints have kind of been an up and down team a little bit this year, but you know, they have Alvin Kamara, who lit it up with 3 touchdowns last week. So it's going to be a challenge.
Like, the Saints are honestly a difficult team to figure out. And like this is one of those teams you don't play very often, so you don't know them that well. They don't have Drew Brees, obviously, anymore. So it's been Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton.
I think it's going to be the Red Rifle again, right?
It's going to be Andy Dalton. And so then they...
I don't know how I feel about that. I have mixed feelings about the Red Rifle.
Of course, the Ravens have faced him plenty of times.
Right.
And some good memories.
Good, some bad.
Some bad memories. But like, yeah, it's hard to know exactly like who the Saints are, I think, because of some of those changes. And again, it's a team that you don't see all that often, which adds another layer to that.
Right.
But look, I think that the Ravens right now, like, they're in a great spot. They're 5-3 right now, but you're only in a great spot if you keep winning. Like, if you get the win this week and you go into the bye at 6-3,
really big win, and
you're like, okay, you're 6-3, you feel like you have a great path to the playoffs. Like, you get this win, you're like, team's going to the playoffs. All right, and now the question is, now you start getting into seeding and how far you're going to go and all that stuff. That's the feeling. That's the vibe. If you lose, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh,
it's going to be.
You got to think about it for 2 weeks because
it's going to be a slog.
It's a Monday Night Football game, all of that. But like, if you get a win here, you're really in great position. And then also, based on where the Bengals are, they're struggling a little bit right now. The Ravens have already beaten them. The Bengals are 0-3 in the division.
Yep.
So you have like a good leg up on the Bengals. But again, the key is you can't let your foot off the pedal.
Yep.
And allow you to cost yourself really important seeding at this point of the year, especially in a game. I know it's on the road. It's Monday Night Football. By no means is it going to be an easy game. No. But the Ravens are favored.
Right.
Like, this is a game that you should win.
Right. Yeah, totally. Obviously, we're very excited to see the defense with the addition of Roquan Smith in the middle of it. I cannot wait to see this dude play.
Yeah.
I thought first impressions when we first met him on Wednesday were just A++. You know, I know you've never seen that on a report card before, but I'll let you know. I thought like he just came off really well. Like, he's just personable, passionate, just smart dude. I thought I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, I mean,
and the more I've watched him on tape and watched him play more, being in Chicago, like, you don't really watch him a whole lot. You just see the tackle stats.
Yeah.
Kind of like Patrick Queen did, right? Sitting on the sideline in our video clip that we put out. But like, looking at him more closely, it's really intriguing what he and Patrick Queen can do together.
Well, Roquan, he won the press conference. He
did.
passed that test without question. And I think a lot of reporters walked away from there saying, man, that guy's impressive. He's sharp. He seems like a guy who's going to be a leader. I really liked him. And he was great. He had a great press conference. And on the field, like, and it's practice. We're not watching the whole thing. It's limited dose. But my feeling in just like the eye test is that he looks the part and passes that test as well. Like, he moves really fluidly. He's got good size. Everyone talks about his instincts and his knowledge of the game, which I think we'll see that in game action. It's kind of tough to tell that in practice. But his fluid movement does stand out to me when I watch him out there at practice.
Yeah. I think it's so easy as a Ravens fan when you were spoiled with Ray Lewis to like want to compare everybody to Ray who follows, right? It was like, well, Daryl Smith came in. It's like, oh, he has a Ray Lewis-esque vibe, right? And then like every linebacker, when we drafted Arthur Brown, it was like, Arthur, are you going to be the next Ray Lewis, right? Patrick Queen, of course, got that.
C.J. Mosley for a long time.
Mosley, of course, got that for a long time. And now you're seeing some of this with Roquan. And to be quite honest, and I know you kind of mentioned this in our instant reaction pod, he's the closest thing that I've seen yet. That of the guys that have stepped in here, he just kind of reminds me of that. Like Ray was just a tackling machine. There's nothing like athletically that you said like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, fast, sideline to sideline, can certainly cover ground, makes tackles, can slip blocks, can take on blocks at times. Like Roquan's more of a guy who kind of gets around, slips past blocks, than a block guy who takes on blocks. But Ray was kind of the same way. Ray wanted those big nose tackles and defense tackles in front of him to gobble it up so he could kind of run around and just run free. That's what Roquan reminds me of.
Yeah, and he just cleans everything up.
Yeah.
Like he just, everything, if something gets to him, he's cleaning it up.
Exactly.
And there's no question about it.
And then, meeting him for the first time on Wednesday, there's a little bit of vibes that way too. Nobody's ever like Ray, the energy that he brought, but like just in terms of like his vibe, like being the alpha, being kind of that leadership vibe, just sharp dude, like he kind of reminded me a little bit of Ray in that way.
Well, look, no one ever is going to match like
exactly
the theatrics of Ray Lewis.
Oh,
like
no.
that was.
If he comes out doing the squirrel dance, Roquan in his first home game,
that would be
if he got a sign off from Ray, that would be fire.
That would be good. That would be good. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Probably won't, but that would be fire.
But yeah, I've just to kind of put a bow tie on the Ray Lewis piece, like when he was at Georgia, that's where I watched him at Georgia, and I was like, he is the Ray Lewis of that defense. Like, he makes every tackle. He's always in the right spot. He's the leader. Like, he had all the leadership stuff. I think the leadership stuff will come here. But just as, like, so viewers and listeners know, like, something that I thought was pretty cool with him in the locker room, two things. One, his locker's right next to Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
Right next to him. So those two guys are going to be joined at the hip.
Was that an empty locker previously? Did he just take away?
I think he might have taken away an empty locker. But so, like, I think that's cool. Those two guys are going to get to know each other really well. Patrick Queen said that he's fired up about this, and some people may have thought that he wouldn't be on board with this. No, he thinks this is going to benefit him, and they're going to be attached to the hip. And then the other thing too, like I was watching him, and he was kind of making his way around the locker room, just meeting his teammates, introducing himself. Like I saw him chatting with Chuck Clark and Calais Campbell, just getting to know your new teammates, which is important. And if you're going to be a leader on the team, you got to have the respect of the guys in that locker room. And it seems like he's trying to earn that and develop that by just getting to know guys first and foremost. Yeah,
for sure. And then on the other side, other side defensively, on the outside, I should say, Tyus Bowser is expected to come back and play against the Saints, make his debut. David Ojabo, we're not really sure. The rookie second-round pick, does he play in this first game back? It sounds like he's a little bit behind Tyus, just by fact that he's a rookie.
Well, it's also the injury occurred 2 months later.
Exactly. So. And so David said that he had his first full practice on Wednesday.
Yep.
So it seems like Tyus has a better chance of playing. Tyus is a difference maker, as well as Roquan in this defense and what they can do. His coverage ability, obviously rushing the passer, he led the team in sacks last year. Like, Tyus Bowser is a difference maker coming back on this defense. So you have to love the way that this is all coming together. And I think it's a real opportunity going down to New Orleans, who, Michael Thomas hasn't played in a long time. They're kind of banged up with injuries as well, wide receiver. It's going to be interesting to see if they can put on a defensive show in NOLA.
That would be nice. I'd be on board with that.
Yeah.
I think the defense this team and this defense are getting healthy at the right time. And like I said before, win this week, and then we're all going to be feeling real good.
Sitting real pretty.
Going into that bye. So thanks so much for listening. You can email us at thelounge@ravens.nfl.net. We will have an instant reaction podcast immediately after that game on Tuesday morning. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Well, wait.
Oh,
man, it's
wait.
Monday Night Football. You got to get ready for the New Orleans big win. The big win. Little jazzy vibe.
That was terrible.